The whole thing, the whole repo got down to 4 components. Agent is actually the main actor. What you need to do for the agent is to tell who you are and what you do. Here, in this application, I will have 3 AI agents. What tea leaf do you sell? So transfer to tea expert, yes. Tea search, and this is a tea catalog that we have. Don't forget to give us likes, leave your comments, share us to your friends, and also subscribe to our channels. We have YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, and Facebook. On the next topic, we are going to talk about a repo called Swarm from OpenAI. It has been a few weeks, and the reception of the community is great. But again, if you actually go to the repo, they explicitly mention that this is not going to be maintained. It's just for educational purposes and for experimental with being experiment for the agentic or multi-agent workflow that they are trying to do. I think it's still worth looking into. It doesn't really take a lot of your time to actually learn about this repo, and it actually actually show you what will be the agentic framework that OpenAI's next real product will be. So yeah, just take a look at it. It's going to be fun at least. All right. So according to its website, is educational only. For exploring lightweight multi-agent orchestration, focuses on coordination between the agent and what they think the agentic workflow should be. Supposed to be highly controllable, but I can show you that not really. There's some uncontrollable in there. Easily testable, not sure about that either. Yes and no is gray area. For the repo, it's here, guys. Like the link is not that complicated. OpenAI Swarm, and you will arrive at this repo. The README file is at least helpful, I would say. You will get a lot of information already from reading through this README file. But if you actually want to see how pieces fit together in detail, go into this go into the examples and explore a few things, and then you'll see how they actually compose and what they think about how the agentic workflow could be. So just for a quick summary, it's actually meant for breaking down tasks into independent capabilities or tasks or instructions that AI should do. You don't want to cram everything into a single prompt because it's going to break. The AI is going to get confused. So a swarm being agentic, it actually supports breaking down the independent work, or at least scope it down into a manageable chunk for the AI to handle. And this is the core part, guys. For all the more agentic framework out there, the key part is to break down the work and allocate this into different AI models to handle it better. A little bit of more detail is for this repo, it relies on chat completions API, not the assistant API. The assistant API is the upgraded version where it kind of like works in threads. Threads can have memory management in there, as well as tool and files management in there. So right now, for this, at least in this version, the Swarm repo relies mostly on chat completion, meaning no memory, no threads, right? You need to handle everything else on your own. Oh, that's because it's being, as I mentioned, lightweight. They focus on the mechanics of collaboration between agents. What agent should do, how they will pass off work when the first agent doesn't seem to fit to itself. The whole thing, the whole repo got down to 4 components. This is what I can boil and get to the essence for you guys. Agent, agent class or agent instance is actually the main actor. What you need to do for the agent is to tell who you are and what you do. Well, at least, right? And you put more detail into the instruction. Sometimes I like to call it a prompt or system prompt. As much detail as you need to improve the performance. You can start off with who you are, what you do, and if you see that this agent doesn't do what you want to do, add more instruction to this later. And the next component for the agent is tools. Actually, this is supposed to be functions, but again, conceptually, tools are packed as a list. You give it a tool as a function. A tool is a Pythonic function, and you pack it up and give it to the agent. Hey, you know these tools, and you should use it. So agent is the main actor, and when you have so many agents together, the next one is the orchestration layer, and this is done by this guy, the Swarm instance, and we'll call it client as a variable when we run the code at runtime. The next 2 components are important as well. The first one is the context variables. The way I think about context variable is a notepad. You can write down information, important pieces of information that you think you need to write down so that you can refer it back. For example, could be the name of the user. If this chat session is supposed to support a particular person, this could be a relevant information. And for another application where this person will be dealing with some purchasing order, another important context variables that you need is probably going to be the order ID, right? So you can add as many context variables as much as you can because this is done as a dictionary. And the last thing is messages. Pretty much is a chat history, but because AI agents have tools, it's not just a list of text messages anymore. It's going to be a list of text, tools, actions, and so on. But all in all, this is a chat history. All right, so you need 4 of these components to use the Swarm repo. Maybe you don't need the context variable, but you'll enhance your application, or I don't want to call application, you will enhance your demo when you incorporate the usage of context variables. All right, these are the concepts, guys. Now let's actually get to the coding section. Okay, are we there? No. Okay, this is the code that I want to walk you through. The basic one, just to show the mechanics before I show you the real demo where it's an AI working in an online a cloud. All right, this section is nothing. It's just uploading my API key from a file kept inside this folder. This is actually copy and paste from the main repo right here. But the gist is here. You define your agent, give it a name, give it an instruction or system prompt for this particular agent, and you equip it with tools. Tools are now called function as an argument. You define a tool as a Pythonic function and you give it to an agent. Now, this function is special in a sense that this function returns an instance of an agent. This is a way of the Swarm repo to explicitly hand off tasks from one agent to the other. So what it's going to do here is if agent A thinks that I cannot do this, it has to be other agent, and agent B is going to be helpful for me. It's going to call this function, and when it calls this function, it will retrieve agent B back, and the orchestration layer inside this swarm will bring up agent B to respond to the text, the incoming text. And this is how it works. You define agents, you define functions, and now you can see that this function links between agent A and agent B. And when you are happy with the relationship and the definition of the functions, you kick off the swarm with this run command, and you pass in messages to chat history. Here is the mechanics, guys, and I think you're ready to jump into a real demo. Now, I find it's useful to actually think about the flow of your agents because you need to define functions. Here, in this application, I will have 3 AI agents. The receptionist, by the way, this is a cafe. My cafe only sells specialty coffee beans and specialty tea leaves only, and have 3 agents. The first agent is the receptionist. It's only him who responds or replies to the user. He has 3 tools. One tool is related to writing down in the notepad what customer, who are we talking to, the name of the customer. The second tool is a tool that is related to payment. And the last one is about carting, like what kind of item does the user wants to buy or what he wants to remove. This is a carting tool. For the coffee expert agent, he has only one tool. It has a coffee search tool. This tool will search information about coffee that our cafe has and return that information back to the expert. That's the only purpose of this tool. This is a segue if you want to implement RAG in case of if you have so many products and you need to wrap it into a vector embedding database. This is where you are going to implement RAG. I'm not going to implement it today. I don't want to walk you guys down with all the details here. I want you to see the structure and the mechanics and how the jigsaws fit together. Now, the last AI is the T expert. Of course, he has a T search tool. Now, what I've described to you is what my agents are and what tools they have. The next step is to define the connection, the flow of passing off tasks when one agent doesn't know what to do. So I want the receptionist to ask the coffee expert when the user asks about coffee, and when the coffee expert gets the answer, it needs to pass the role back to the receptionist. That's why I need to create 2 Pythonic functions. One of them is called transfer to coffee expert, and I will show you a way to where to equip this function. Definitely, it's going to be equipped to the receptionist because the receptionist need to call this function, and this function will transfer the role to the coffee expert. Another function is a transfer to receptionist. So once the coffee expert has finished his thing, it needs to put the role back to the receptionist. And this is the responsibility of this Pythonic function, transfer to receptionist. Similar thing for the T expert. I need to write a transfer to T expert function and equip it to the receptionist. And I can reuse transfer to the receptionist function for the T expert to pass on the role back to the receptionist. So once I have this diagram of how I want the agent to pass off, it's very easy to write the code. Well, by the way, this is my context variables. I know from the batch that I want to collect the name, but I don't know the name yet. I can give it none, and a cart is empty. I want to put it in a list. Anyway, so this is the context variables that I will show you you guys when it's in the code later, and how we are going to make the chat, the agents update these variables as we go on in conversations. But now back to the point, we have defined the workflow. Then it's easy for us to write a code to support this function. So let's focus on the receptionist first. For the receptionist, I need 3 functions right here for the agents to use. For the receptionist agent to use, I have 3 functions. Cutting function. Now pay attention here, guys. So cutting function is a function. I want this cutting function needs an item. It needs to know what item needs to add to the cart. So right now I'm making it very stupid tool. You can only add. You don't subtract, right? And this is how it's going to be done in code. Yeah, this cutting will just add on to it. So you can make improvement on this function if you wish. And this is the way you update the context variables. Here we go. The cart, add to it. And then in return, you need to use a result class where you can import the result class from swarm.types. So in the result class, you need to specify 3 things. The value is actually a string that will be given back to the agent. So basically, the agent will call this tool, and the tool will say, card updated, back to the agent, and the agent will know, good, we're done. The second argument to the result class is context variables. This is a way to update the context variables, right? Don't forget to use this line if you want to update the variable. Now, the third argument that you can specify is the agent, and it's going to be explicitly say that now after this function is called, the next agent is going to be blah blah blah. So you can specify it here. But for me, I'm not going to do it for the cutting agent just yet. For payment, I just want to do some quick dirty stuff. Payment succeeded. You can add detail in this function in the actual production code, but I just want to show you again the structure of how this thing is done. Now, the last function is the function that updates username. It's the same way as we did for cutting system. You update the context variable and then you use the result. Even though I haven't shown you here, you can not only update the context variables, you can add new variables in it. Update. You can say that, okay, if you have the name, update CIM needed, you can do that. So at the end, when this function got triggered, you will get a new variable called update CIM needed. Maybe I'll leave it here just to show you that this works. Okay. Now, I have I've shown you 3 classes, sorry, 3 functions or 3 tools that I want to equip to the receptionist. I want to skip this chunk of code yet. I want you to focus on this. So this is where I am going to define my agent. Agent receptionist, the name is a receptionist, and the functions or the tools that I'm going to equip it to this agent is these 3 guys that I just defined it, right? Now, instruction can be just a string or a callable that returns a string. And this is helpful because the way that Swarm Repo was made is that you can input your context variables inside of this function, and then it will get triggered when the Swarm client was run. So basically, imagine this. If you know a customer's name before this multi-turn, multi-agent chat session starts, you can fill in the instruction to the receptionist to greet that person right away. So kind of have a better impression on the user, right? So this is the way to initialize context variables to the agent's instruction. So for this agent, I actually added a lot of instructions here. Helpful receptionist at the cafe, friendly and happily. You will be friendly and happily help a customer buy products from cafe. The cafe only sells specialty coffee beans, specialty coffee leaves, do not sell drinks, right? Therefore, When a customer just mention coffee, it means coffee beans, and you can politely clarify that to the customer. When customers just mention tea, it means tea leaves, and you politely clarify that to the customers. You can do small talk, but circle back to ask if you can help the customer choose products from our cafe. You're also responsible for charting system and payment system. When asked about what products we sell, ask the expert of the product what products are available. When you're asked about details about products, you will ask other AI agents who are specialized to know more about the products. Okay, these are the instructions. I kept adding last few things because I got undesirable responses. It could be my prompt is not great enough. Anyway, so here we go. This is our receptionist. Okay, now let's move on to the coffee expert. The coffee expert only has one tool, and one of the tool is the coffee search. Again, I am going to do a very stupid thing, very easy thing here. So the coffee tool search will always reply as a string with this coffee data, in which it will be loaded here. So in the coffee data is the product master for specialty coffee beans. We only have 3 beans here: Yirgacheffe, Blue Mountain, and Geisha. So yeah, this tool will only respond with this whole chunk of text. And that's it. And for this coffee expert tool, I specify that once this tool is finished, move the role back to the receptionist right away. So I want to close the loop here, because when I actually run it without specifying this one, without moving the role back to the receptionist, the main role is still stuck with the coffee expert. And when I ask it to add to the basket, it doesn't know how to do, or at least it should not do that task. It still wants to do the task. So that's why I want to explicitly say that once you finish answering, move the role back to the receptionist. Okay. For the T expert, I did the same thing. We have a T data set, data expert here. We in this case have 3 types of tea: Dragonwell green tea, Gyokuro green tea, and this black tea. Okay. Now I leave the return of agent out from the T search, because I want to show you that if you don't specify the rollback to the receptionist, the design of the flow that I want to achieve doesn't work completely. It doesn't work 100% of the time. Again, you need to remind yourself that generative AI is a fuzzy in, fuzzy out. You are not going to be able to promise the same performance 100% of the time. If you leave it alone, if it only relies on its capability, then you are not going to get 100% consistencies. So yeah, adding the specifying what role is next is helpful, and we'll see. All right, what we just did is we divided the 3 AIs agents and their tools. Now we are ready to make connections. I wanted to do this way because I can focus on, with defining agent and their tools, I can focus on that guy really, really well. And once I have the items or the agents done, I can add connections, and that makes more sense. So connections, we need transfer to receptions, transfer to coffee expert, and transfer to tea. When you define the connections, and you can see that this connections only return the agent, right? And this is how you add on the connections to the agents. So you pick the agent, go to the function, and you extend if it has a list, or simply append if you have one element to it. So now these agents have more functions attached to it, and the recently added functions are the links, the hands-off functions. All right there. So let's actually create all these functions for real. Okay. So I'm running this guy. By the way, you can install the repo first using this command. It's available on its GitHub as well. So moved on to context variables, defining my receptionist here. All good. Coffee expert, all good. Tea expert, all good. Connections, good. Now let's try running. First, define a client. This client its main responsibility is to orchestrating the agents and messages. Okay, the first one I want to try is, what coffee bean do you have? And here we go. You do the run command with that client. I'm showing you all the options available here. You specify the agent you want to kick off this conversation with, and supposed to be the receptionist. Then you put in the messages in a OpenAI compatible format. You put in your context variable there. Max returns. Right now, I put it to infinity. So this conversation can keep going until the while loop is terminated. The model override, I tried to put it to GPT-4 minute. It didn't work. You see that. Execute tools, default to true. I want the AI to trigger tools and the tool get to work properly. Stream, I don't want to work with that right now, and debug to false. So running this cell, everything is now packed, send it over to OpenAI API, get the response back, and this is how it looks like. So, yes, it's quite a lot of things because when with this question, it triggered agent hands-off, change the agent, tools triggered, and function got called or something like that. If you're trying to make sense here, is this guy. Okay, we need to transfer this to the coffee. Now the role is we are going to trigger this function so that now the coffee expert is active. And here is the coffee expert thing. Okay, now I am going to use coffee search. Then it triggers a search function in which the search function returns this whole thing, right? Here we go, returns the whole thing back to the coffee agent, and the coffee agent replies as a final reply, say, here are some of the coffee beans we have available, blah. And this is how it goes, okay? So it will get a lot of items in the returned messages because of the agent's hands-off and tool got triggered. But at least it's doing well. Now, if you want to try, quickly try this thing. The Swarm Repo also provides you with a function that helps you run this thing in a loop. Sorry. Here we go. Oh, okay. It's actually in here. So this function will help you run the demo in the command line. So every time you run this guy, it's going to start clean slate. Your messages is going to be empty list, and you'll be in a loop, where in a loop it has a helper function that print out the thing that you want to see. So I want you to use this one just to kick off quickly. So let's actually go and play with our agent. All right, here we go. So it's being run now. The text box that I need to put in what I want is at the top here, guys. Okay, I can increase it to you guys. So, hi, I want to, so I can say, what coffee beans do you sell? Starting Swarm CLI, then, is it too big for you guys? You see what happened here. The receptionist answers some garbage here because this is not true. It's supposed to answer only 3 beans, right? Where's our database. Sorry. It's supposed to answer only this. So that is quite wrong. So I can say try again. So you see the problem here. The problem is we let the LLM judge what it needs to do, and the receptionist AI thinks that it can handle everything on its own. And it could be because my previous prompt say, Ben's, what kind of coffee beans they have. Now it's kind of like confused. I think what it did here is actually updated my username. So, right? Let me just go check that now. Everything can go wrong here, guys. Okay, so to escape the loop, what am I trying to see? I need to click interrupt and escape. Okay, here we go. I want to check context variable. So the receptionist agent is so confident, it doesn't use any tool. This is not undesirable. This is an undesirable outcome. Okay, let's try it again. We're running this again. So I'm just going to say hi. Hopefully it knows that it needs to update the name. It's taking some time to get back. I see that it's kind of like long, many seconds before I actually get a response. Yeah, now I had to double enter it. So let me just interrupt everything, clear all the variables, and restart my runtime and run everything. Now, you guys, live demo. Oh, before we continue, so I mentioned that I tried to override the model with a GPT-4o mini. It wasn't successful, right? The model that the Swarm framework uses is still GPT-4. I can just say, and then hi. Hopefully now the receptionist uses its tool. Updated user. Now my name is Benz. How can I assist you today? What tea leaf do you sell? Now we focus on tea first. Hopefully the receptionist trigger the tool to transfer the role to the tea expert and then answer us. Hopefully it's it's actually taking too long to decide. Maybe I need to press enter again. Somehow I need to enter to the box twice. So transfer to T expert, yes. T search, and this is a T catalog that we have. And the T expert say, I'm here if you have any other question. You see, the role is still with the T expert. If I say add the black tea to cart, what is it going to do? The tea expert says that it seems like we don't have the functionality to directly add items. This first is correct. The tea expert shouldn't have the cutting system. But what it should do is it should transfer itself back to the so that the receptionist can trigger the cutting tool. And this can be because my prompting is not great, right? So let's go back to the T agent. And this is my prompt. You're expert in specialty leave. Your answer T related question. You must use T search tool to retrieve information and use this piece of information to answer first. If the information here is not relevant to the question, you may attempt to answer with your own knowledge, but you must admit that you don't have the backup information. If the users ask about anything unrelated to tea products, you hand off to unrelated to tea products, you hand off to the receptionist. Maybe these two statements contradict each other, and that causes this problem, unreliable problem. Again, talk to receptionist. Let's try if I ask the tea expert to put me back to the tea receptionist. Yeah, it works. I want to add the black tea to cart. What is it going to do? Now, The receptionist, why does it know that this is a tea we are talking about? It knows because the receptionist see this whole conversation too. Okay, so all the active agent has access to both its own tools as well as the chat messages. That's why you can switch to the right agent that you want to trigger a tool and say that you want this tool to be activated. And in this case, the carding tool. Okay, okay, pay now. Your payment is processed. Everything is good. Done. Okay, so let's get out of this loop and see the context variable. All right, we are out of this loop now, and the context variables got updated. Here, my name is Benj. The card is now having this black tea, and a new key is added to this context variable. Update GIM needed. Right. Okay. Let's try it again, but with coffee. We'll go with the same flow, and you will see maybe improved performance in terms of the agent hands-off with the coffee agent expert agent. What coffee bean do you have? Now, we always start with the receptionist, and here we go. The receptionist knows that it needs to transfer to the coffee expert. The coffee expert trigger a search tool, and you notice this, the receptionist is the one who answers, because we've explicitly that whatever answer here, whatever answer from this, whatever answer from this tool, you answer it, but the agent is now this guy. This is how the Swarm framework allows you to explicitly switch to a agent that you think it's better suited for the task. So I can say add to cart Blue Mountain. Here we go. And yes, because it's now in the receptionist role, a receptionist can use a card tool. And now I want to say, what about tea leaves? What would the receptionist do? It should switch role with the tea expert. Okay, I need to press enter again. Yeah, it now has a triggered tea expert, and we got the right product master data. Then I'll try add Yokuro to how is it going to do? I think it would be stuck again with the T expert, and we need to switch the agent explicitly again. Quite slow. Here we go, right? Exactly. So it doesn't really know. Yeah, see? Well, this is hallucination. It says that Gyokuro has been added to your card, but this is hallucination. It doesn't have a card tool. Try again. I'm not sure what is going to happen when you say try it again. My God, I don't know what is happening here. This is new to me. Kind of like using a card tool with T expert. Okay, now that made me question to myself if I have made the wrong connection. So for the T agent, I add the transfer back to the receptionist link, and this is good. Right. I honestly don't know what this is happening, so I think this is the bug, and I don't like that. Get me receptionist. I think this is a bug. To actually dig deeper into this, I need to get the messages, but I don't think I have access to it right now. So anyway, so now it's transfer itself to this, and the receptionist trigger the carding tool and should be done with the loop. I hope. Yeah, payment done. Good. Let's get out of the loop and see what is happening. Let's see the context variable now. Here we go. I just want to remind you that when I just run the reason session, I did not redefine the context variable, so everything else remained the same here, and that's why the Blue Mountain and the Gyokuro was added to the list of the card here. All right, so to be honest, it's a fun tool to work around, but it's still having some negative loopholes like we just explored, right? you need to actually specifically define the role of the agent right after the function or the tools that you want to use in order to control the flow better. And it could be partially my fault, my bad as well. Maybe I prompt the agent not so well. But yeah, so there are definitely rooms for improvement. And one thing that I want you to realize is that testing this multi agent system is still a pain, and a lot of people has encountered that. And I think it's an active research and development. So it's one thing for you to build a demo like I show you. You can build a demo, you have lots of fun in it, but when you want to productionize it, it's going to be hard work on evaluation. How are you going to automate it? How are you going to reliably evaluate fuzzy multi-turn conversations? And how are you going to measure the effectiveness of tool calling? Like, I want this tool to be triggered 100% of the time. How are you going to do it? And in order to solve that, a lot of components need to be done. Like, one of the things is the orchestration layer that the Swarm repo has done, and also of memories, sessions, and so on. So yeah, it's definitely an active research that a lot of people, a lot of research company, a lot of for-profit companies are working on right now, and even my own, the company I work with as well. Before the So my verdict of the Swarm is it's quite fun, but if I'm going to choose right now, I will go with either Crew AI or LangGraph for production friendliness, I think, and the fact that the Swarm framework is only educational, it's not going to be maintained. To me, it's just for educational purposes, as explicitly mentioned from the OpenAI team as